This over here. Okay. No, first you sing and then I do my thing.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhanadhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhanadhari
Jashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana
Jashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana
Jashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana
Jashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana
Jamuna Tira Vanachari
Jamuna Tira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Radhika Raman Radhika Krishna Vanamali Giriju Ki Jai. Om Agana Timarandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chakshu and Militamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padandikam Namo Maha Vandanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gora Tavashe Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'd like to offer my heartfelt Puspanjali to the lotus feet of my Harinam Diksha Guru, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, our Srila Prabhupada. Second of all, to my Bhajan Shiksha Guru, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, our Gurudev, to Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, to the entire Guru Parampara, especially Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and his Mādhurya-kādambinī, and to the assembled devotees. Jai Ho. So we're moving on here in the Mādhurya-kādambinī. We're in the third shower, which is Anartha-nivṛtti. And we're still quite at the beginning. This is the longest chapter, I think. Chapter 8 is also quite long in the whole Mādhurya-kādambinī, which is the eradication of anarthas. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has said that we need to know this chapter in detail, so we should read it and study it many times. Because we're dealing with what are the obstacles in our path of bhakti and how they can be eradicated or cleared. That's the word, cleared. So we're still on the first offense to the holy name, which is criticizing the devotees of the Lord. And as we learned before, criticizing anyone, because actually the Lord is in the heart of all living entities, and wherever the Lord is, it's a Dham. And the Atma is there also, and the Atma is pure. So actually to offend anyone is not helpful for our bhakti. In fact, the acharyas have said, one, and Lord Chaitanya himself has said, anyone who doesn't criticize anyone, he will make me happy and he will gain perfection very quickly. So we can see this is actually the biggest offense. And the third offense to the holy name, which Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur does not spend much time on, because he feels it's included in this first one, which is disregarding the spiritual master, thinking him like a material person, and therefore not obeying his orders or criticizing him. He feels that one's pretty much included in this first offense, because this is for Vaishnavas and Sri Guru, this first offense. So now we're moving on to the topic, which is very interesting actually. This is 2E. Third shower, 2E. And the title is, The Holy Foot Dust of the Mahabhagavata Cannot Tolerate an Offense. Now that's interesting, isn't it? The reason why this is here is because Mahabhagavatas, they're filled with prema. They're descending from the spiritual world. They're wandering in this earth, filled with prema. They're not relating to the material world. They do not take offense from anyone. They're not affected by the modes of material nature, and they're not affected by what other people say to them. They're simply absorbed in prema. So, in one sense, they cannot be offended, because they don't take offense. But who does take offense? The foot dust of the Mahabhagavata and Krishna. Krishna cannot tolerate an offense to the Mahabhagavata, and his foot dust cannot tolerate. And one time we asked Srila Gurudev, what is this foot dust? That's his followers. The followers of the Mahabhagavata. They cannot tolerate this. So in this commentary, Srila Gurudev, he has his commentary here to this particular part of the Mādhurya-kādambinī. He quotes a very famous pastime from the Srimad Bhagavatam to illustrate and to show how a great devotee is even speaking these words about the foot dust. And who is that great devotee? It's Sati, the wife of Lord Shiva, the daughter of Daksha. And the pastime is that Daksha's having a fire, he's having a sacrifice, a big sacrifice. And everyone's there, Lord Shiva's there, and Daksha comes into the sacrifice. And Lord Shiva's absorbed in his transcendental meditation. And he doesn't even notice Daksha coming in. So he doesn't stand when Daksha arrives. Plus, actually, Shiva is more elevated than Daksha. So in that sense, too, he doesn't need to stand. But actually, he just was not aware. And Daksha becomes so angry. So angry. And because, for one thing, he's in the bodily platform of life, and he thinks, because I'm the father of Sati, and you're only the husband of Sati, I am more advanced. You should offer me respects. You haven't properly respected me. And also he's covered with dust, and he hangs out with ghosts and hobgoblins and so many reasons, right? And so he is very, very disrespectful to Lord Shiva, who of course leaves. But Sati, later, I think it's Lord Daksha's having some kind of, I forgot, he's having some other function. And he doesn't invite Lord Shiva or Sati to this function. But Sati decides she wants to go because it's her family. She hasn't seen. She's a woman, you know, and her family's going to be there. Her sister's going to be there. She wants to go, and Lord Shiva advises her, "You shouldn't go." But anyhow, she goes, and of course, Lord Daksha neglects her, completely neglects her. Can't remember if he says anything, but he completely neglects her. And in other words, he offends Lord Shiva again.
He also has no oblations for Shiva.
Oh, that's it. He has no oblations for Shiva.
Yeah, that's
okay.
always part of this.
Yeah, that's right. That's always part. I couldn't remember the pastime so well. And so Sati, she becomes so angry. She says, "I am embarrassed to have this connection with you through a material connection, you know, a blood connection with you. And I get very upset when Lord Shiva calls me Dakshayani or something, the daughter of Daksha. This pains my heart." And so she speaks a verse that's very, very famous. And Prabhupada's purport to this verse is really amazing. I won't say the Sanskrit. Well, I guess I could try.
Yeah,
Nascharyam etad yad asatsu sarvada Mahadvinirda kuna patma vadishu Shersham Mahaparusha pada pum subir nirastate jasu tad eva shobanam. That's Srimad Bhagavatam 4:13. And the English is, this is Sati speaking. "It is no wonder that those wretches, low people, who consider the corpse to be the self, repeatedly and enviously deride great souls." He says, it's not surprising that they do this. "Such blasphemy certainly befits them." You know, that's what they are, so it befits them that they talk like this. "Although these exalted personalities, the ones that they're blaspheming, pay no heed to the activities of such persons, their foot dust cannot tolerate the offense and will destroy their power." So it's Sati that is saying this. The foot dust can't tolerate the offense, and the foot dust will destroy them. That's interesting, isn't it? And after that, she says a few more things. She actually, in meditation, burns herself and leaves that particular body. What do you call it? Emolument? I forget. How do you say that word?
I don't know.
Anyhow, she burns herself and leaves. Yeah. I forget the exact word for that, but she actually leaves that material body. She burns it up in meditation. She's meditating on the fiery element in her body. And in fire, she just leaves. And in one sense, she has died. And so the whole sacrifice is inauspicious. And when Lord Shiva hears about this, he's so angry. And he comes with all of his followers, and he just destroys the whole sacrifice, even Daksha. So this is what happens when one disrespects and criticizes the foot dust, meaning Sati herself and all of the followers. Daksha is destroyed, because Daksha is actually killed by a personality who is manifested from a hair of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva pulls a hair and says some mantras, and I think his name is Virabhadra.
Yes.
Virabhadra. He's huge, and he's the one that finally cuts off personified anger. He cuts off the head of Daksha. Of course, later Daksha gets his head back, but he gets the head back of a goat. Anyhow, such are the pastimes in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says something very, very interesting. He's saying that everything depends on the recipient. You know, the person who's receiving something. And he gives the example of the sun. The sun, when it's shining very brightly, on some plants, they thrive and they grow, and on other plants, they wilt and they die. Same sunshine. So also, the pure devotee, their extraordinary qualities, for some people, they flourish. For others, they're destroyed. But it's because of their own, they are the recipient that isn't qualified to be able to receive their mercy, actually. And so they get punished by the foot dust. And Prabhupada gives the example that you can usually tolerate the sun on your head, but maybe not the scorching sun on your feet. Interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. So we have to be very, very careful. And we shouldn't take advantage, because the question comes up, well, if the pure devotee doesn't take an offense, then, is it really an offense? If they don't take offense, how is it an offense? Well, Sati explains, because the foot dust takes offense. And then the other question comes up, well, if they don't take offense, then how can you actually rectify yourself? How can you appease them by asking for forgiveness and by praising them and serving them? How is this? How will this help? And it's explained because by doing that, then you appease the foot dust. Then you're pacifying the foot dust. And you're pacifying Sri Nam. You're pacifying Krishna himself. So one very much needs to go and repent, fall at the feet of the pure devotee, serve them, and glorify them like this actually for the rest of your life. For the rest of your life, our lives, we should repent. Oh, how could I have done this? We've talked about this before. This is not just once, okay, you do, okay, it's fine. No, in our hearts, we should always feel regretful. How is it that I could have done this? And maybe I have to be I might do it again. So I have to be so careful. Please help me so that this envy, this hatred in my heart that causes these offenses will be purified out. Because it's that hatred and envy in our heart that causes us to commit these offenses. We've talked about them before, the offenses to the Vaishnavas. Even simply by not being happy on seeing them is an offense. And you can see how this is very subtle. Because we're in the bodily platform of life. So we get caught up in our own world. And our world to us is so important. Even though we're so insignificant when it comes from the entire cosmos, we're extremely insignificant, but to us, our world is the most important, it's the biggest. And so we have this time scale, we have this and that. So sometimes we might see another devotee, what to speak of a Maha-Bhagavata, and think, oh, I really wanted to do this now, and now I have to, I don't really want to see them right now, because I wanted to go over and do this. Even that, see? So subtle. So, because we're all absorbed in our own sense enjoyment and our own bodily concept of life. So in one sense, it automatically causes us to be offensive. Because we came into this world with the avidya of envy and lust, envy of Krishna, and lust, I want to be Krishna. I want to be the enjoyer. This is our basic avidya, ignorance. So in this world, we suffer so much because we have accepted the material body. And that isn't just the gross body. We're reading now in the 5th canto, Jad Bharat's instructions to Maharaj Rahugana, is the subtle body too, which is material. And actually, it's the subtle body that is the most difficult. And what is the most difficult? Not the intelligence, not the false ego, but the mind. The mind is our worst enemy, or if it becomes Krishna conscious, our best friend. But until it becomes 100% pure, it's our worst enemy because you can never trust it. Never trust it. So even if we're not speaking an offense, or doing an offense, but thinking an offense, this is very detrimental to our Krishna consciousness. Our mind will take us through all the different species of life, all the different planets, up and down and up and down, is called the designation of the soul, the material designation of the soul. Like we've always heard, our material designation is I'm a woman, I'm a this, according to the gross body. But the mind is the material designation of the soul. It's covering the soul. And I don't know if we've talked about the word mamata. I think we have. Mamata means that I and mine. And we're thinking, and it's an intimacy, a real intimacy. I am this. This is mine. And this is our disease in the material world. I am, right now, in a woman's body. I used to be an American, now I'm an Indian. I, mine, this is my house, this is my mother, my father, like this, very intimate. Can't be broken in this lifetime, except by Krishna consciousness. So that mamata, you see what I mean? The soul, that mamata, I, which is in the mind, is covering the soul. I am in the material. I am this, I am that. But by finally somehow getting the mercy of Sadhu and Krishna, and we hear finally the basic what? Bhagavad Gita. I'm not the body. I'm a spirit soul. The soul can't be cut, can't be hurt. I'm eternal. Just that alone is starting to transform our worst enemy, the mind. And by then our intelligence, the spiritual intelligence coming from Sadhu and Shastra, the mind is starting to become purified and controlled and can start to become our friend a little bit and is very intimate until finally, by constant practice and detachment, that's chanting Hare Krishna and chanting Hare Krishna. You can come. Oh. By chanting Hare Krishna constantly, especially when the holy name has come from the pure devotee. It's been given to us by the pure devotee. But pretty much like Harinam, But even if we haven't personally heard it from the pure devotee, pretty much the Harinam that's going on in the world today is coming from the pure devotees. From Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. They have come and they've brought the holy name, Harinam. There's nothing but the holy name in all the 14 worlds. And it was brought by who? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. And then he empowered all of his followers to give it. And it's going all over the world. You see? This is Chaito Darpanam Marjanam, purifying the mind. And when the mind becomes purified, then what happens? Chaito Darpanam Marjanam, Bhava Mahadavagni, Shreya Karava Chandri Kavatam. Then the moods start to come finally when the mind is purified. Some Vijavadu Jivan, then spiritual knowledge is there. Then Vijavadu Jivan, Anandam Buddhivarnam, bliss comes. Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vidayate. Then our whole being is purified, clean and pure. This is the nature of the holy name when chanted under the guidance particularly of the Rupanuga Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Following their instructions, making their instructions our life and soul. And this way, by doing this, and always singing, oh, I'm so sorry, Srinam, I've offended you for life after life. In this lifetime and before, I've offended you, please forgive me. Srinam is a person, this is Radha and Krishna. Sri Guru, Sri Vaishnavas, oh please. What to speak of all living entities? For me, the cows. I eat cows. Please, Mata, go, Mata, please forgive me. What to speak of all the other animals I eat? And when past lifetimes. So always being very humble, very repentant, and then the foot dust of the Mahabhagatas, they will become appeased. Sri Nam will become appeased, you see? But it has to be a constant, because in bhakti, one of the, what's that word? One of the essential, there's the word, integral? There's another word. Anyhow, the integral's okay. Qualities, intrinsic, that's the word. Intrinsic qualities of bhakti is humility and forgiveness, compassion. So when we look back and think how we didn't have these, and the other quality is truth. So the truth of the matter is, I've been very proud. I have not had compassion. I have not forgiven. I've told a lot of untruth and been absorbed in untruth. So please, please, please forgive me, everyone and everything. I'm sure I must have offended everyone and everything. Please forgive me. Please take away the cause of this offensive mentality. And that is avidya. You see? So please purify me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, and if one doesn't do that, what does Srila Narayana Maharaj say in his commentary? Then, if we do not do this, then the dust of the devotee's holy feet will unfailing give out the appropriate punishment to the offender for the offense. And there's no doubt about it. If you don't do that, you're going to get the punishment. Simple. So if we're suffering, we should understand why. We don't have the correct attitude of humility and repentance. This is the thing. That's the nature of us conditioned souls. We have a tendency, even though we're so insignificant, it's so ludicrous how puffed up we get. I mean, when you study the chapter in the Chaitanya Charitamrita of Nityananda Tattva, and you see, you have Balaram, because he's Balaram Dev, and then you have Sankarshan, Mahasa, all these down, Mahavishnu, Karandakshu, Shirdaksha Vishnu, and then down into all the, the individual super souls, and the soul in all the unlimited universes in the material creation. We're unlimitedly insignificant. And even our whole universe is unlimitedly insignificant. But yet, we think we're the most important. Isn't it? And we think we're so big. And everyone's thinking that. That's the disease of the material world. But by the chanting, by the mercy of Nitai Gaur and their representative Sri Gurudev, then we can become free from this ludicrous mentality. And I start to understand we're the servant of the Vaishnavas, who are the servants of who? Sachinandan Gaur Hari, who is none other than Radha and Krishna. And our whole life, 24 hours a day, becomes seva. And the mind becomes our friend, becomes filled with the pastimes of Krishna, either as Sachinandan Gauri, Radha Krishna, or whatever. Like this. So then we're going to move on to the next topic, which is that the Mahabhagavata can bestow his mercy independently and indiscriminately. So even though the Mahabhagavata, he doesn't take offense, he doesn't even see that he's completely absorbed in prema and another, not on the bodily platform. Still, if he wants, and even if Krishna wants, they can give mercy. And at this point, there's 3 examples that's been given. Now you know 2 of them, or at least one of them, and we'll speak about it. One of course, is Nityananda and Jagai Madai. And the other one is the one I talk about a few times. It's in the 5th canto, is Jad Bharat and Maharaj Rahugana. And the other one is one I had never heard of before. His name is King Chedi, Upachara Vasu. And there's two stories about him. They're quite interesting, actually. I've never heard about that before. Anyhow, the first one that is spoken of by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is Jad Bharat and King Rahugana. That's from 5th canto. Jad Bharat, as you probably know, we've spoken about, was the famous son who became the emperor of the world, Maharaj Bharat. He's the son of Rishabdev, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when in his meditation, when he reached Bhav, he became attached to a deer. He had to take the birth of a deer, but he remembered everything. And because of this, in his next life as Jad Bharat, he did not want to have any material connections. So he didn't even relate with his father and mother as an ordinary. He was dumb and dull, like this. But he was completely absorbed in transcendence. And if you remember the story, they were even, some dacoits caught him and were going to offer him to Goddess Kali. He never protested. Never. Never was fearful. Okay, this is what Krishna wants. Of course, Kali herself came out and decapitated the heads of all the dacoits, and he was saved. She couldn't tolerate this kind of offense. But then next after that, Jad Bharat, he was watching the fields, because that's what his brother, first his father had asked him to do that, then his brothers, he was watching the fields, and he had quite a stout body. And so this King Rahugana was going, I forget where he was going, and he was on a palanquin, because those days you traveled by palanquin. And they had 4 palanquin carriers, but one of the palanquin carriers, I think, got sick. They were looking for someone to carry the palanquin. So they had the other palanquin carriers, and so they found Jad Bharat. He was very stout and strong. They thought, oh, he'll make a good palanquin carrier. So, and he didn't say anything. Okay. He never objected, so he started carrying the palanquin along with the other carriers. But he wasn't going at the same pace, and so the palanquin was going uneven. And why wasn't he following them? This is the characteristics of a Mahabhagavata. He did not want to cause any harm to any living entity, so he was watching for the ants on the ground. He did not want to step on any ants. So to do that, he'd have to stop. He was not stepping on any ants because of his quality of mercy and compassion. And so, of course, after the palanquin was starting to rock and not be steady, the king gets a little upset. And he starts speaking some rude words to the palanquin carriers, especially to Jad Bharat. But again, they start carrying the palanquin, right? And so then what happens? He really insults Jad Bharat. Jad Bharat, he doesn't matter. But this is a time when the Mahabhagavata decides to give mercy. He himself, without any cause, he actually, because Jad Bharat before that did not give mercy in one sense to his brothers and his family, except they got his darshan. He did not give mercy to the dacoits, except they had his darshan, plus the darshan of Mother Kali, But to Jad Bharat, he started to speak the absolute truth and give him spiritual instructions. And it explains in the purports in the 5th canto that he'd had some association with some saintly persons, and he was a bit inclined to accept spiritual instruction and spiritual truth. So when he heard the instructions of Jad Bharat, he was mortified, humiliated by his own actions. He jumped off the palanquin, fell at the feet of Jad Bharat, and put his head on his feet and begged for forgiveness. So he had this quality. He was very fortunate. Actually, inside he had some humility. And it was due to his being a king, and of that, identification of being a king where you're a bit proud, and you think that you could just, say whatever you want, and, that was a little bit of a contamination there. So this is Jad Bharat starts speaking about this, about, you think you're the king and I'm the servant. Well, next you could be the servant and I could be the king. Starts giving him the absolute truth about the nature of the material world. So, and he has enough spiritual sukriti that he can hear it. And there's many chapters on the instructions of Yad Bharat to Maharaj Rahugana, and they're very, very, very helpful, actually. And this is where it talks about the mind. Yad Bharat is talking about the mind and what a problem it is, you see. And there's a very famous verse that Yad Bharat is speaking to Maharaj Rahugana, which I also wanted to say because it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. This is the Canto 5, Chapter 12, Text 12. Rahuganai tat tapasa nayati na chejaya nirvapanad grihadva na chandasa naiva jalagni surair vina mahat pada rajo abhishekam. And this mahat pada rajo abhishekam means you have to take abhishek, bathe in the dust of the lotus feet of the Mahabhagatas. And the translation by Srila Prabhupada. My dear, this is Yad Bharat speaking, my dear King Rahugana, unless one has the opportunity to smear or bathe his entire body with the dust of the lotus feet of great devotees, one cannot realize the absolute truth. Not possible. So we need to bathe in that dust, meaning in who they are, in their instructions, serving them. It says the rest of one cannot realize the absolute truth simply by observing celibacy, brahmacharya, strictly following the rules and regulations of householder life, leaving home as a vanaprastha, accepting sannyas, or undergoing severe penances in winter by keeping oneself submerged in water, or surrounding oneself in summer by fire and the scorching heat of the sun. There are many other processes to understand the absolute truth, but the absolute truth is only revealed to one who has attained the mercy of a great devotee. There is no other way. So it's beautiful. The foot dust of the Mahabhagatas is very powerful. Very powerful. Can ruin one or can give one complete perfection. So in this instant, because Maharaj Rahugana, he humbled himself, he repented, he fell at the feet of Yad Bharat, who is a Maha Bhagavata. The whole planet is named Bharat Varsh after him. This is Bharat Varsh. What a great devotee. And his father's Rishabdev, his brothers are the Nava-Yagendras. Great soul. He attained perfection after he left his body he already was in perfection as Yad Bharat. And he himself, out of his causeless compassion, gave the perfection to to Maharaj Rahugana. And after Maharaj Rahugana heard everything, he attained perfection. He started realizing and he attained perfection. Just see. And he was really obnoxious. He said he was really not nice. So, there you go. But in his heart, because our conditionings are superficial. Superficial conditionings. But if our heart is really hard and nasty, then this is a big problem. So we have to make sure that we keep repenting, we keep trying to be truthful, seeing where we're doing things that we shouldn't be doing, and being truthful, being honest, and hear from the Mahabhagatas, hear the Shastras, so we know the truth. I am insignificant. Who am I? How I can act like this? How I can expect this? Then, you see, if not, our heart can get so hard due to more and more, what? Offenses. More and more criticizing. Then it becomes just hard and hard. The example is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Ramachandra Puri. Ramachandra Puri. He was the god brother of Madhavendra Puri, right? No, the disciple of Madhavendra Puri and the god brother of Ishwara Puri. Ishwara Puri glorified his guru, served his guru, completely surrendered to his guru, so his guru Madhavendra Puri gave him love of God, everything. And what did Ramachandra Puri do when Madhavendra Puri was on his leaving this world? He was crying, oh, I haven't reached Mathura. I haven't attained you. I haven't attained you, Mathuranath. I haven't. He was in so much separation from Krishna, Radha and Krishna. And Ramachandra Puri, being a Mayavad at heart, an impersonalist, comes in and says, why are you crying? You shouldn't be crying. It's all one, you should be happy. Why are you lamenting like this? He didn't understand, actually, Krishna Prem. He had no understanding, because he's an impersonalist. So he got cursed by his guru, Madhavendra Puri, cursed. And so then he left. And when you get cursed like this, what happens? More and more material desires, coverings, impersonals come. So he went to Puri, and he himself was criticizing Mahaprabhu and all the devotees. And everyone was miserable. But Mahaprabhu is so great. He didn't really take offense. See, here you go. He did not take offense. In fact, when Ramachandra Puri would criticize him for eating so much, then he would cut his eating in half, and the devotees would become so upset, And sometimes he'd make a little fun of Ramachandra Puri, but he was always respectful because he was the brother, or the god brother of his guru. So he always showed respect. But Madhavendra Puri, Ramachandra Puri criticizing, he finally left Puri and just more and more material desires, and we don't know what happened. He just wandered off, left Mahaprabhu and the devotees. Who knows? So this is what happens. We can even criticize the Supreme Personality of Godhead out of envy. So we have to be very careful to stop these things, not let them snowball, as we say. So of course the next story, I kind of have to look here, because this one about King Chedi, Upachara Vasu, which I don't know so well. So Maharaj Upachara Vasu, and Srila Gurudev mentions that where we have reference to this is from Jiva Goswami's Bhakti Sandarbha. This is where it's spoken about. And it's from the Vishnu Dharmottara. That's some shastra. I don't know what that is. And so what was happening is this Maharaj Upachara Vasu, he annihilated all the demons. And he was very repentant for having committed so much violence. So what did he do? He became detached from material enjoyment, and his heart became very anxious, and he entered Patala Loka. That's one of the subterranean planets. And he had the desire to continuously meditate on Sri Hari. He was a great devotee. He became a great devotee, okay? So the demons, they found out that their former enemy had stopped the violence and gone to Patala Loka without any weapons. He had no more weapons. So seeing a time when they could take revenge, they went to Patala Loka and approached this Upachara Vasu and wanted to kill him, right? Well, the moment they raised their weapons to behead him, their weapons froze in midair. They couldn't do it. They were unable to strike Upachara Vasu. This is because of the power of his devotion to Bhagavan. They could not touch him. Whoa, that's pretty intense. So they got very frustrated. So they went to their guru, Sukracharya. Whoa, what are we going to do? We really want to take revenge. And we couldn't kill him, so what to do? So Sukracharya, being very smart actually, he said, well, you go near him and you start talking about atheism. And so what Sukracharya was thinking, that why he told the demons to do this, he thought that as long as Upachara Vasu's heart was immersed in remembering Bhagavan, no one would be able to touch a hair on his body. But if Upachara Vasu disobeyed or disregarded Bhagavan in his heart, then he could be destroyed. So Sukracharya told the demons, go to Upachara Vasu and loudly announce, there's no God. The Vedic scriptures are false. So the demons did that. And they went around Upachara Vasu and they started yelling out, God is no God, the scriptures are false. And by doing this, Upachara Vasu, his meditation was slightly disturbed, just slightly. But just see, it wasn't in the way the demons wanted. What was happening was that when he heard this, his heart filled with compassion at how unfortunate they were. They were so unfortunate. So his heart got a little compassionate, and he thought, what a tragedy for these demons. In order to take my life, they desire to even obscure the existence of Bhagavan, who is the Lord of all, the cause of all, and the supreme controller of everything. They're trying to negate him, just trying to kill me. This is what they're doing. He said, so he prayed, oh, supremely merciful Bhagavan, please be kind to them. You see, here he's giving his mercy. By his own free will, purify their meager intelligence and immerse them in the nectar of devotion to your lotus feet. And what happened? Due to his merciful prayer to Bhagavan, by such a high devotee of Bhagavan, all the demons became devotees of the Lord. Unbelievable. This is compassion. This is the intrinsic nature of bhakti. See, so this is what a bhakta never retaliates. Even if someone's coming to kill him, he has so much compassion, he just prays, please help them, please purify their heart, please let them become devotees. He doesn't hate them. He just feels so compassionate. Oh, what a tragedy. So as long as our heart is, if someone does something to us and we're feeling hate, then we haven't even come close to bhakti. You see? If we want to take revenge, we haven't come close to, that means we still think we're the body or the mind. We still have some material attachments. We think we're insulted. But the spirit soul is beyond, it's had nothing to do with it. Jad Bharat never got he knew he was, nothing said or done to his material, gross or subtle body could affect him. This is devotion. We really know we have devotion when nothing can affect our subtle or our gross material body. We're absorbed in transcendence. And only by mercy we can relate. So there's another interesting story about this. There's two stories about this Maharaj Upachara Vasu. The second one to me is a little bit more unusual. And this one comes from the Mahabharata, Adi Parva 63 and Shanti Parva 337. Now, I guess it's the same Upachara. It just says the Upachara, he was the son of King Pirava. And he was constantly engaged in dharmic activities. And on one such occasion, he performed great austerities. Oh, he performed such great austerities that Indra and the other demigods thought that maybe he was trying to attain Indra's position. See, Indra's always getting envious. He got envious of Maharaj Prithu, an incarnation of the Supreme Personality. Thought he was trying. So he stole the last horse from the sacrifices, the Aswamedha Yajna. Poor Indra. He got envious of the Brajbasis. So he just gets envious. Although he's a great devotee, he is a devotee. So anyhow, the demigods and Indra, they approached this Maharaj Upachara, and they asked him about this, and so then he stopped his austerities. He was very humble. He said, okay, if you're worried, I won't do this anymore. And so for doing that, they gave him the kingdom of Chedi. Oh, that's when he became the king of Chedi, wherever this is, somewhere here in India. And Indra gave him a tremendous celestial jewel-encrusted airship plane that remained in the sky ready for use. So he had this amazing airplane always ready for him. Indra also gave him a Vaijayanti mala, special flower garland that would protect whoever wore it in the battle from all the weapons. And, okay, so after that, then the king, when he decided to give up his kingdom, and he crowned his sons, the kings, then he took up his residence in this airship. So he's traveling around in this airship. So one day, when he's traveling around in this airship, he comes upon a quarrel, a dispute between the demigods and the Brahmarshis. And these Brahmarshis are sages that are realized in Brahman, the absolute truth. So they're considered sadhus. The demigods are not necessarily considered sadhus. So the argument is about, in the scriptures, describing attainment of material enjoyment, the karma kanda part of the scriptures. In that, they state that when a yajna is being performed, you have to do it with aja, A-J-A, aja. So what exactly is aja? And they were having a quarrel about what is aja, the demigods and the Brahmarshis. The Brahmarshis said that this aja means ana, bij, or food grains. And the demigods, and so they were saying you can't do a fire sacrifice without offering food grains. But the demigods argued that this aja referred to offering a sacrificial male goat. Yes, goat. Okay, so you have to do the yajna by killing a goat, a male goat. And the Brahmarshi said, well, this is Satya Yuga, and we're not supposed to injure an animal. That can't be done. That's not religious practice. It's not dharma. Saintly persons don't do this. It's sacrilegious. So they were having this argument. So they decided to ask this Upachara Vasu. And because they thought he was really religious. And so it's very interesting. This is very interesting. So so they decided, okay, they'll let him just settle the debate. And so King Upachari says, first tell me honestly, who among you interpreted aja as a male goat, and who interpreted it to mean food grains? And when they told him, then it's very interesting. King Upachara took the side of the demigods, meaning demigods, demigods, in offering a goat. And of course the Brahmarshis got so angry. They were really angry, and they're like, sadhus. And they accused him. They say, you know perfectly well that it means food grains. They accused him of being dishonest. But still you sided with the demigods. You must now fall from heaven by the power of our curse, penetrate the earth, and descend directly to Patala. Here he goes to Patala again. This is the second time he's gone to Patala. And if your verdict contradicts the Vedas and the Shastras, our curse will be effective. But if we're wrong, then we will fall down. And immediately he fell down, so they were right. It's food grains. Very interesting. So this King Upachara, he's in Patala Loka, and he's residing there. But he's a great devotee. So he's constantly chanting Bhagavan's holy name. Constantly chanting there in Patala Loka. Not affected by having been cursed by the Brahmarshis. So then Narayan himself becomes pleased, and he sends Garuda to bring King Upachara Vasu to himself in Vaikuntha. So there, for what would seem, it's this causeless mercy, Lord Narayan says, okay, come and be with me in Vaikuntha. So we can never know at which point either Krishna, Narayan, or the devotees are going to shower their mercy. Like this, amazing, isn't it? And very quickly, I'll tell the story, but you all know it. See, these saintly persons in Krishna are completely independent, but still the offender can be delivered if they get the mercy of the Mahabhagavata or Krishna. So, of course, the third example everyone knows is Jagai and Madai. I won't tell the story in length because we're running out of time. But Nitai, being the topmost Mahabhagavata, in fact, he's the second expansion of Krishna, Balaram, he and Haridas Thakur were preaching the holy name to every town and village, every door. And of course, they come upon Jagai and Madai, who were so low. They were murdering, thieving, doing all. They had been born Brahmins, but due to bad association, bad samskars, they were doing the most lowly, obnoxious. Everyone was afraid of them. When anyone would see them, they would run the other way. They didn't know if they'd get killed or at least robbed, get raped. They were very, very low people. And so Nitai said, oh, I must save them. And then the name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be glorious. Then you can be called Patit Pavan, right? So they go once, and of course Jagai and Madai, they're just chasing them away. But still they're saying a little, we won't say Hare Krishna, but they little. So then Nitai goes again. And this time it's Madai. He picks up a broken piece of the clay jug and hits Nitai, and the blood is coming. And at that point, the devotees, they inform Mahaprabhu, and he comes. And when he sees the blood coming, he's so angry. And he calls for his chakra, and he's going to kill Madai. And Jagai probably too. And but Nitai stops him, right? This is the mercy, Karuna avatar, Nitai. And also Mahaprabhu, he says, you cannot kill in this incarnation. You cannot. You've come to kill the demonic propensity in their hearts. You must give them mercy. So then immediately Mahaprabhu, his chakra goes, and he gives mercy to Jagai, because Jagai told Madai not to do it again. So he's very happy that he saved Nitai. But then Madai is thinking, well, what about me? And Mahaprabhu says, I cannot give you prema. You have to fall at the feet of the one you offended, Nitai. Then Nitai, of course, says, please give him. So they both get prema like that. Immediately, everything. And of course, they're told, don't do it again. And they become the topmost Mahabhagavatas. And at that point, everything changes. Their whole character, everything. And they start cleaning the very ghat in the Ganga, where they used to do all their horrible activities. No one would go there. Now they're sweeping and cleaning and begging forgiveness from every single person who comes. Every person, every time. Because they don't know who they've offended, who they haven't. And now everyone's very happy they can come. This is the causeless mercy of Nitai Gaur, isn't it? So all of us now, we have the opportunity to get the mercy of Nitai Gaur. Probably of Jad Bharat too, if we prayed to him, and Lord Narayan, and who's the other one? And King Uchedi. You know, we can pray to, because these persons are not dead. We're eternal. Everyone's eternal. The Bhagavatam's eternal. All the personalities in the Bhagavatam are eternal. But what to speak of Nitai Gaur? There's no one more merciful. So, so best not to commit offenses. But if we do, just out of bad habit or even out of a malicious heart, we should fall at the feet of whoever we've offended and beg forgiveness. And then the foot dust will be very merciful. We're just finishing. Okay. Vanchakalpatusha kripa sindhu vivita patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jaya glories to Mādhurya-kādambinī. And next week is Shiva Ratri. And next week we start the second offense, which is about Lord Shiva and Krishna. You know, thinking that Shiva's independent of Krishna. Like this, you know. So, okay. Shall we have kirtan? Yeah.
Acha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Prabhupada.
Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada,
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev,
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Gaur Prayati, Hari Hari Bol. Okay, Vanchakalpaduvishya Kripa Sindhuvi, Patijanam Pavanebhyo, Naishnavebhyo Namo. Jai Ho.
Fix your glasses.
Huh?
Your glasses.
Oh yeah.